Hey guys, welcome back to Study with Additti. My name is Additti and this channel is dedicated to revision tips and tricks along with much more to help make your schooling life a whole lot easier. Today I'm going to be talking about English literature. Last week I did a video on English language and it seems like you guys enjoyed that one, and so as I did mention in that last video, I will be doing an English literature video and how to revise English literature. So I don't do English literature at A level, but I did do it at GCSE and I was with the AQA exam board. The texts that I did were Pride and Prejudice, Lord of the Flies and Romeo and Juliet. I'm not going to be going in depth into all of those different texts because I know a lot of you do different texts and I really don't want to make this specific. I want to make this video as general as possible so I can help as many people as possible in this position. And a lot of the content from this video will be linked to my English language video. I do recommend that you watch these together. It doesn't matter which order, but I think that these two videos put together can really help you with English in general. Firstly, I want to say that if you do English A level, whether that be language or literature, go to the relevant video and please comment your tips, because I literally cannot give you any tips, obviously having not done the subject myself. So I think it'd be really appreciated if you could give those A-level tips out. Anyway, so let's get started. So the first tip I'm going to give you is buying the CGP guides if you can for each text, because I think they give you a really solid base knowledge of each of the texts and they link stuff together that perhaps your teachers wouldn't link together. And I think, to be honest, you want as many resources as you can, especially when giving in different interpretations, as I mentioned in my English language video. However, that doesn't mean you should memorize each and every bit of analysis from those guides, because if you do that, you will not score high on originality. And to be honest, if you want to get those 8s and 9s, you need to be original. Going back to buying the CGP guides for each of your texts, try and get the workbooks as well, because I think they're really useful for practice. This actually seems like it's sponsored by CGP, but it's not. Just as a little disclaimer. Anyway, I don't think they have one for Pride and Prejudice, so obviously you can't get that one. But for my text, Romeo and Juliet, Lord of the Flies, and also the poetry, I did Power and Conflict poetry, but poetry I'll look at later on in the video. I got the CGP guides and the workbooks for each of those, and yeah, I'd say they're quite useful as well, because to be honest, they give you short questions as well as longer questions, and I think to jog your memory, especially after not having looked at a text for a long time because you may be revising something else, I think they're really good quick fire questions. You don't just want to be doing short fire questions, so you need to be doing longer questions, because in the exam they're only going to give you longer essay questions, obviously. So you want to try and do as many practice essays as you can. Try and compare characters, themes, anything. Ask your teacher for sample essay questions or previous essay questions. You could probably find those yourself too, and just do them. And also try and get your teacher to mark the essays that you've done, because you need to be getting feedback and also implementing that feedback into your next essay. So I definitely think practice essays are the way to go, especially nearing the exam. But firstly, you really need to get the content in your head. So for example, the scenes in the play or the chapters in the book, you really need to know what happens in each one so that you have a broader context of the play or the book that you're writing about. For the play in the 19th century novel, you'll also be given an extract to analyse as part of the question. For this question, you can structure your answer in two different ways. So the first way could be 2 paragraphs talking about the extract and then 2 paragraphs talking about the novel as a whole. Or you can make sure each of your 4 long paragraphs cover the extract and the play or the novel as a whole. So you do them both in the same paragraph. Personally, I don't like that method, but I think if you're prone to losing time in the exam, especially for English, because it is a tight exam, you should probably try that way, because it ensures that you cover the play / novel and extract at the same time, so you could get both marks for each side. But if you don't run out of time, then 2 and 2 I think is best. Another common question I get asked is how to remember quotes for English literature, and I say for that you should make flashcards, but not just of the quote, of the entire theme or the character. and then have your quote in a different colour on that flashcard. So what I did here for Lord of the Flies, the importance of the con, it has the quote, the first quote in pink, then the second quote in blue, and then it has the next quote in purple, and the next quote after that in orange. And by doing that, by having different colours for different points, it reminded me that I had 4 different points for this theme, and that the first point was going to be pink, the second point was going to be blue, etc. And it just told me which point was which quote. I think that's quite useful because you could get mixed up between your quotes within one theme, or you could do it the other way, where you have all the quotes for one theme or character in one colour and then all the quotes for one theme or character in another colour. But to be honest, it's up to you. Make sure that your point is short, your quote is short, everything on there is short, because you're really not going to remember really long things. So you really need to make sure that your point and your quote can be shortened as much as possible, but you still need to convey the message. And then what you want to do is go over these so many times, like before the exam, like whenever you get time. I know that you should be going over so many more flashcards for so many more subjects, I get it. But honestly, you should prioritise these flashcards over like keyword flashcards, because really you're only going to get like 1 mark from a keyword flashcard. Make sure you think of every single character or theme that you possibly can. Ask other people what are they doing. Make sure you cover the most irrelevant characters too, because some years they've asked about really irrelevant characters and no one thinks they're going to come up. So make sure you do cover those characters because they still do have a chance of coming up. So that's it on the actual texts. But you also have the poetry section of the English literature papers. So, 15 poems. Yep, 1, 5. I know it's hard, but you can definitely do it. I did the Power and Conflict set of poems, so I might accidentally reference to them, but my tips are general, there for everyone. And these tips actually came from an English support session that I went to regularly every week, hosted by one of the English teachers at our school. And I think honestly it's so good if you go to these things, because if I hadn't gone, I wouldn't be sharing this information with you right now. And I actually think this saved the poetry section of English Lit, because honestly for mocks I had no idea what was happening. I got like so low because I didn't even know what was happening in any of the poems. So make sure you don't do that, revise for mocks. Anyway, let's actually talk about the poems. So again, originality is very important in this. I got the CGP revision guide for Power and Conflict poems, and there was a lot of stuff in there which was very good, but I do think that if so many people are getting it, you're not going to have any original points, and that is going to lower your mark. So be original, try and think of points of your own, or try and find other resources, perhaps online, which you know that less people are going to use. That way your points seem more original. Again, make sure you do practice essays, because you're writing an essay in the exam and you need practice of it, really. On the subject of essays, there's a lot of confusion about whether you need an intro and conclusion. Wow, that rhymed. Wow. So what I'm going to say to you is an intro, I think you definitely need, because it's a formal essay and it just binds the whole thing together. It's kind of weird if you just jump straight into it, because there's no sort of context. But that doesn't mean like context is in history. Like, don't ever give context unless it's actually relevant to your point. Like, it just looks really weird to an examiner. So you need to make sure that your context point relates to your actual analysis point. An intro should kind of have what you're going to discuss, but like, don't be like, I'm going to discuss. Try and make it more subtle than that. And then your conclusion should be everything that you've learned while writing the essay, any links that you've made, and just kind of like wrap it up in some way. So I definitely think that an intro and a conclusion is vital for an essay. The poetry specific tip I'm going to give you is make sure you choose wisely about the poems that you're going to compare. There's no point of comparing 2 poems which are really far apart but have only 1 link within like one of the lines. Try and pick 2 poems which have more of a solid comparison point between them. There are actually loads of videos on comparing poems, specifically for the Power and Conflict set and also the Love and Relationship set. And so I think that you should definitely definitely look at those. I think it was Ozymandias that came up for me, and the night before I'd looked at the Ozymandias and My Last Duchess comparison. I just looked at it to see how to compare poems, and it was so good because I was able to compare My Last Duchess to Ozymandias, and I remembered some of the key points as well. If another poem came up, I would have found it much harder to do, so I would definitely recommend looking at those comparison videos because they really give you good points. Okay, next there's the unseen poetry, and to be honest I think this is the hardest because obviously it's unseen and you don't know anything about it, so make sure you don't put any context points for this one because not everyone will know the poem, and not everyone will know context points. Therefore, to be honest, I'd say for this one just practice comparing random poems. Obviously if they come from a specimen paper or some other paper, it's better because the examiners or the paper writers will have made sure that the papers are vaguely similar in some sort of way. But I think if you can compare random poems together, that will probably even strengthen your comparing skills because you'll be able to find links that no one else would have thought of, which is really good. Again, originality. Sorry about the angle change there, I had to reset the battery, so sorry about that. But anyway, this is the section where a lot of people lose marks because they just don't have time to finish it, especially if they're following the set order of the paper. So as you're progressing through the paper and you get to the unseen section, check how much time you have, and if you're noticing that you're running out of time, try and write a paragraph for each question first and then add to each question as you go through the time that you have, if that makes sense. So basically what I'm saying, for question 1 write a bit, then move on to question 2 of that section, write a bit, question 3 write a bit, move on, etc. And then once you have something for each of your questions, go back and add more. Each question assesses different abilities, so if you demonstrate to the examiner that you have each ability, it's better overall. So I'd really just say, as exam technique for this unseen poetry section, try and write a bit for each question. So anyway, that's all I have to say about English literature. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. A lot of you have been requesting this video and I'm so sorry for the wait. If you do English literature or English language for A-level, please comment your tips on the relevant video so that we can really build up a community of giving tips and helping each other. And yeah, as usual, if you have any requests, please comment them down below and I'll see what I can do. If you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe and hit the bell icon while you're at it too. So I hope to see you for the next video. Goodbye!